We are 40 degrees here at 93.5, 1590 WAKR. And indeed, it's time to go to film school. Our good friend Joe Fortunato coming on board with us. Of course, Joe is a film study professor, and he takes us to film school on Fridays. Hey, Joe, before we get going, great job, and we had a lot of fun, you and I, down at Jilly's Music Room last Saturday afternoon with Raiders of the Lost Ark. You took us to film school. I think the crowd there enjoyed it, and you did a terrific job, and you and I are already looking forward to doing it again.
Well, thanks a lot, Ray. I really enjoyed it, and a big thanks to you guys at the station and to Jilly's Music Room for hosting it. And yeah, we had a great time. It was people were very engaged, and I look forward to doing it again. And for those who didn't make it out, make sure you listen to us for when we have an upcoming date, which we hopefully will.
Yeah, I think we for sure will. That's for sure. Well, listen, earlier this week, a lot of election talk, certainly in the Akron area and beyond with the primary elections across the state. So you went to your bag of movies and dug out some election-themed movies for today. Go down that road for me.
Yeah, today we're not doing a single film. We're going to do a little bit of a mini list. And I don't necessarily want to call these the best election movies or even the biggest. There's a handful of movies here that are big movies that I didn't put on this list, like The Manchurian Candidate or All the President's Men, because I kind of look at those as more just generally political movies rather than specifically to elections. And we might do those again or, sometime on their own. But these movies are some underrated gems, not necessarily unknown, but maybe a little bit forgotten. And hopefully I'll introduce a couple of new films to you here, and you'll go out and check them out. So just to get started here, I'm going to go chronological order. So we're going back to the 40s here with a great Frank Capra film called State of the Union from 1948, and it stars Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. So it's a great director, great stars, and of course they were a real-life couple. Spencer Tracy plays an industrialist who's urged to run for president, but this requires some uncomfortable compromises, both political and marital, and it was adapted from a play by the same name. And it actually also stars a pre-Manchurian candidate, Angela Lansbury, who was, has a role in this film. And Katharine Hepburn is the estranged idealist wife who kind of becomes ensnared in some of the shenanigans here. Just a little bit of trivia there. There was some real life tension on the set between one of the actors, Adolphe Menjou, who was fiercely conservative, and the liberal-thinking Katharine Hepburn. There was some tension on the set that was really political. We go next to the following year, 1949, with an Oscar winner. So we're not exactly forgotten, but All the King's Men, directed by Robert Rosen and starring Broderick Crawford. This was nominated for 5 Oscars. It won 3, including Best Picture, including Best Actor for Broderick Crawford, and supporting actress role. And this is about the rise and fall of a corrupt politician who makes his friends richer and retains power. And it's sort of loosely based on the legendary Louisiana politician Huey Long. And so to prepare for this role of Willie Stark, the fictional character, Crawford watched a lot of newsreels of Huey Long to kind of get into character. This was remade again in 2006 with Sean Penn in the lead role. But, do yourself a favor and go check out the original, because, like I said, it is an Oscar winner. In fact, little trivia, Broderick Crawford was drunk in many of the scenes in the film, but he was ready and brilliant for each of the performances he finally pulled off. So a great film about politics, All the King's Men. Now we jump forward a couple of decades to a film from 1972 called The Candidate. This is directed by Michael Ritchie. It stars Robert Redford and Peter Boyle. It won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And Robert Redford plays Bill McKay, who is a candidate for the U.S. Senate in California. He really has no hopes of winning, so he's willing to tweak the establishment and kind of just say what he wants. And he plays, like I said, this idealistic son of a former governor. And it's sort of an unwinnable race, but as he kind of says whatever he wants. He becomes very popular, and he starts winning over the electorate and has a real shot at winning. And I won't spoil the ending, but by the end, there's a famous line, and he says, "What do we do now?" So I'll let you check out the film to see what that refers to. If you go ahead and see that film. The next film is from 1992. This may be my secret favorite of the entire list, and it's actually probably the one that's most forgotten or hardest to find. I don't believe it's streaming anywhere. This is Bob Roberts, and this was written, directed, and stars Tim Robbins. It also has a very young Giancarlo Esposito and Jack Black in his first film. This was the directorial debut of Tim Robbins, and this is a little interesting because it's sort of a mockumentary in the vein of Spinal Tap or something like that. And Robbins plays a conservative folk singer, if you can believe that, who turns his hands to politics, runs for U.S. Senate, and he's not above dirty tricks and smear campaigns and stuff to win the election. It's actually based on a little-known Saturday Night Live character that Robbins played when he hosted SNL. And like I said, he wrote, directed, and starred in this film. And Jack Black, I mentioned, is his first feature film, very young. A soundtrack album, because he's a folk singer, was actually due for release on Warner Brothers Record, but it wasn't released because Tim Robbins didn't want the songs played outside of the movie's context. The cast includes 4 Oscar winners: Tim Robbins, Susan Sarandon, Helen Hunt, Fisher Stevens, and a couple of Oscar nominees, and David Strathairn and Bob Balaban. That's one I really hope we can check out. Like I said, kind of hard to find, but I did see that it is on Vimeo, of all places. So if you Google that, you might be able to find that on Vimeo. Next, we're going to a documentary. So this is a rarity that we do on Film School. This is The War Room from 1993. This is directed by D.A. Pennebaker, who's co-directed, I should say. And he's a legendary documentary director. This one stars, and I'm using air quotes that you can't see, James Carville and George Stephanopoulos, who are real people. And this was an Oscar nominee for Best Documentary. And basically, this chronicles Bill Clinton's campaign for president in 1992. And if you're a political junkie of any party, I think you're going to enjoy the honest, in-depth look at the campaign trail. The story is about Clinton's campaign. It's really James Carville and George Stephanopoulos who are the stars of this film. And Bill Clinton himself is almost never seen. It's been parodied in the series Documentary Now, which is a fun documentary parody series. And this is also a film that was part of the Criterion Collection, so that kind of adds some prestige. This one's on HBO Max if you want to check it out. And I'm sort of just running my mouth off here, so interrupt me if you want to, but we're rolling along. The next film is Election from 1999. This is directed by Alexander Payne, and this is sort of a satirical comedy starring Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. This was also nominated for a Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar. And, most of the other films we're dealing with are national and state politics. This one is a high school election. But it's a good one. And Reese Witherspoon, she portrays Tracy Flick. And this was voted as the 45th greatest movie performance of all time by Premiere Magazine. So that's pretty high. Ranked number 9 on Entertainment Weekly's 50 Best High School Movies. And she is Tracy Flick, and she's running for student body president. And it's a really cutthroat election. And she is very ambitious and does whatever it takes to win this election, much to the dismay of her popular teacher, Mr. McAllister, played by Matthew Broderick, who doesn't want to make it a cakewalk for young Tracy Flick. But he doesn't really realize the importance of this student body election to these students, and that's kind of his downfall. This one's on Canopy, and you can probably find it elsewhere. Our last film is Game Change from 2012. This is directed by Jay Roach. It stars Julianne Moore, Woody Harrelson, and Ed Harris. So great cast. This one actually was made for HBO, so it's a TV movie technically. Excuse me. It won 5 Emmys. So usually I talk about Oscars, but we'll go into TV here. 5 Emmys for Best Actress, Best Director, Outstanding Miniseries or Movie. Harrelson and Harris both got nominated for Supporting Actor. Julianne Moore won a total of like 9 awards in the award season, including an Emmy, a SAG, Golden Globes. So this is based on a popular book called Game Change, written by some of the people from the McCain campaign. And Julianne Moore plays Sarah Palin, who, of course, was thrust into the national spotlight when she became the surprising VP pick for John McCain's election in 2008. Ed Harris plays McCain. Woody Harrelson plays one of the strategists, E.U. Smith, who was one of the people who worked on the book. You know, we all kind of think of Tina Fey on Saturday Night Live as an impersonation of Sarah Palin, but Julianne Moore really does an amazing job. And, you know, and it's more than an impersonation. She's embodying this character as an actress, a good actress, and it's pretty impressive. Julianne Moore has confirmed that she's never even personally met Sarah Palin. And Nicole Wallace, who was a real-life aide to Sarah Palin, said that the film was highly credible and true enough to make me squirm, she said. Really captured the spirit and emotion of the campaign. It was directed by Jay Roach, who did a number of other comedies, including like Austin Powers. He also directed a film called Recount from 2008. And I didn't mention it on this list, but I'm going to give it sort of a sub-mention in this because it's similar to Game Change in that it's sort of a look at a real election. And this one is about the 2000 presidential election, of course, where it was delayed for a month and we had the hanging chads. And both Recounts and Game Change are on HBO Max. So some stuff to check out, and hopefully some stuff that maybe some of you have never heard of or never have seen and you want to check out.
You rang the memory bank, that's for sure, my friend. Great job with some election-themed movies this week in film school. Joe Fortunato, film study professor, each Friday here on the Ray Horner Morning Show on WAKR.